David King is here, full of ideas when you've got that much material to work with. That is properly being dunked in it with all 9 games, isn't it, David King? Welcome.
9 games is too many, Jerry. How long have we been doing 9 games? Feels like a long weekend, doesn't it? And that last game going so late, I tell you what, it kills the first crackers. We were still going about midnight last night.
That was rough.
I don't know who was watching, but no, it was a late finish and a long weekend, but it's what a start.
What a start. Go and pose the question you posed out the back after that little flurry of snap judgments.
Well,
Who's given up?
Yeah, I love that. Who's given up on their own team already? They've waited for 6 months. Oh, we're going to have a good year. Oh, we're gone.
That's proper snap judgment, isn't it?
I love some of your texters. Oh, he can't coach. I give him a chance every year, Beveridge, and he's let me down again.
All right, the King's Gambit is for Victoria Police, made for more search police careers. What do you want to open with?
Well, you got 44 odd players on every list. Everyone's tailored their list within an inch of its life. They've built it over 2 to 3 years, or they're rebuilding, or they're all at different stages. But ultimately, a major section or major component of the coach's role is asset management.
They're hedge funders.
They're hedge funders. And some are doing it better than others, and some know exactly where the funds should go, Jared, and where you spend your wealth. And there's a few that are either confused or in denial or just put the blinkers on and will not see another way. I don't know what it is with individual coaches or match committees or is it a whole, I mean, people are sitting there thinking, oh, who's in my team? Who's in the wrong spot? Who shouldn't be actually getting a game? Who should be getting a game? Why don't we try him in the middle? Why does he get first? So we'll just shoot off a few names.
Yep, shoot them off.
Does Cam Rayner get the most charm run in the competition? They play him at half-back because they need a half-back. They put him in the middle because they think they need another midfielder. They play him forward. He doesn't impact the game. When was the last time he really shifted games? Yet he's the first one that's thrown in there. Charlie Cameron, he stays at full forward all day. If the ball's not coming down, he's at full forward. Like, why wouldn't you use Charlie Cameron as a spark player? Harris Andrews, why don't you move him when he's being tagged effectively by another player? Why wouldn't you move him onto another type like they do with Sicily? No, he just stays there. Dane Zorko, we're not playing with half-back. We're bringing in McKenna, and then we're trying Ainsworth. You know what? Last quarter, we're going back to Zorko on half-back. Looked terrific. Why wouldn't you start him there? No, because just stubborn. Adelaide, the wettest night of all time up north, and they go with the tools because they're a certain size. I know going into that game they're not going to touch it. I know that. And Saligo starts on the pine. As soon as he comes on from the sub-vest, terrific. And you go, well, where was that? Whole game changed. Western Bulldogs, I don't know how many times I have to say this about Aaron Norton. Your backline's a mess, right? And I know he's kicked 51 and 44 goals the last 2 years. But if you put Jeremy McGovern at full forward for the West Coast Eagles, how many would he kick for a year? Would he kick 35? So you're arguing about the gap of about 9 goals, really, for that sort of player. But you put Jeremy McGovern at centre half back and he ruins the game for the opposition. You can't get past him. You've got to have tactics in place. You've got to talk about him in your pre-game meetings. So that's the sort of player Aaron Norton is. But we are not putting him back. Absolutely no way. We've got 17 tools in our forward line, but we're not putting Norton back. And you know what? We're going to leave Norton there. And the fact that Norton's going to play there means we probably can't play Darcy, so we'll just play him in the twos. Well, is that great asset management? To have a marquee product not even playing. So it's all about development and experience, all these sorts of things. And the dog supporters hate the fact that Craig McRae's not in the lineup, and they hate the fact that Caleb Daniels is sub and all that sort of, and they are all little small things that get tacked on when there's a greater problem. All these issues get thrown on. Every team's got their own, or every fan base has got their own. Why are we playing him? Yeah, Perkins goes in the middle now and has an all-time game for his start of his career. Terrific, outstanding. In 6 weeks' time, if he's not playing absolute centre bounce midfield time, people will be going, what's going on with Perkins? So Parrish will come back. Does he get bumped? So I just wonder how much of the role is sometimes just eating a bit of humble pie and saying, maybe I got this guy wrong. Maybe I've been hard on this guy. Or maybe we actually got to give this guy more of a chance than that guy. I know every team's got him. I mean, you probably see it with Geelong too.
Well, I could go Goodwin 1 week to the next asset management. Played Shaqy in the first game.
Yep.
Shouldn't have happened.
Yep.
Corrected in the second week. And there's a little bit of fitness and availability in that. But went with what wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Just hoping that it might work. And then yesterday when they put out a much more likely setup and move, what's his name, to half back instead of forward.
Who are you talking?
Their other top Melbourne.
Melbourne.
The other tall who is I've just gone totally blank. Who is obsessed about having as a forward.
McDonald.
Yeah. The way they set up yesterday.
Very forgettable, Jen. I can understand that.
No, apologies there. The way they set up yesterday, much more likely to be successful under your asset management theory.
Well, we've seen that work before, haven't we? So, okay, let's just go back to what we know works. And there's a sprinkle of magic dust in there too. You will still want to challenge players to get better or to develop and all those sorts of things. And I just feel like some clubs and some coaches do it better than others. Yeah, and it has to have an impact. It just has to have an impact. And I don't know. I feel like we're here again with the Dogs. Aaron Norton, they kicked the ball to Aaron Norton twice.
That was a bit damning, wasn't it? And right at the start. So one was in the very first passage of play.
Was, 1 minute in. So what do you say to that? What do you do? What do you do with that? Who? So does one of the match committee boys walk in today and it'll be a tinterbox in there? Can you imagine walking to the Western Bulldogs match committee and throwing up the possibility of playing Aaron Norton at centre half back? It's almost career threatening. It would be, wouldn't it? Hey guys, I've got an idea. Can we have a look at Norton at down back? I'd be saying that as I left the room, Jared.
Just over the shoulder.
Has anyone thought about Norton? Yeah. So it'll be a tough one. They're tough discussions to have, but aren't you obligated to have a look at things when you're failing? They missed the finals last year, and we seem to have saddled up with the same sort of look.
I'd be super interested to see what changes between the first look at it and the second look at it. I think in a few different cases, there were things that looked okay in the preseason for a few clubs. And you go, oh, no, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And whether you're prepared to make your adjustments straight away. All right, I like that. The King's Gambit, asset management.
Someone just put, Hutchie should do this with me. Maybe we got this guy wrong.
Looking for a career that gives you more. Search Police Careers. Victoria Police, made for more. The big issue is it's historically unseen. Our two grand finalists are 0 and 2. And it's what sort of theories are you running? What observations are you making? And then you've got a nice way of framing it.
Well, you used to play this game on 360.
I regret that we don't anymore.
Yeah. I regret a lot of things about 360, to be perfectly frank. But let's not do that here. Who would you rather be, Collingwood or Brisbane? Who would you rather be, given the problems that are at Brisbane and the different problems that are at Collingwood? Like clearly, you'd rather be the Premier because you can talk about hangovers. If you're not the Premier, well, you've sort of got nothing. So forget that it's 2023 discussion, but right now, after a couple of looks at each, who would you rather be? And I still think you'd rather be Collingwood because I still think it's correctable and you can get them going. And I talked about the gap being a metre with you on Saturday and showed some vision last night. So I think you can sool them into a response. But Brisbane, it might have just been 2023 was their year, Brisbane. And everyone says, "Oh no, they got this window. They got all this talent and they got this window." Well, I don't know. I don't know if you just get this window because you've got good talent. You know, they've looked as vulnerable as any. I looked at the ruckman, Big Oscar. If he grabs it out of the ruck one more time and dump kicks it forward, I mean, this is sort of stuff that should have been corrected. He's got elite level talent around him. If you grab it, mate, just pop the handball. Pop the handball. We got guys that can kick it and go, but no, they still do this. They still carry on with this and then turn the ball over, and then they're all chasing tail, and they're not quick enough to chase tail in the middle. They're not. They're dour, honest performers in there without Neil. And then I look at the worry of the tactical battle when Harris Andrews is effectively tagged. And this is a discussion I reckon we've had 15 times about the grand final, but Brisbane don't want to accept. Frampton is almost vote-worthy because he doesn't touch the ball, but he doesn't allow Harris Andrews to touch the ball. The other side of the coin is they say, well, Frampton was kept quiet. Frampton's a bit player. doing a negating job. Cox did the same. So Sicily's tagged by Guelphy. Sam Mitchell, not looking to win grand finals or anything. They're at a different stage. He puts him to stringer. So if you want to still run with Guelphy on Sicily, well, you're going to give us some luxuries. So they're the sort of things I'm looking for. The Zorko to halfback. I just think there's so many different challenges with Brisbane that aren't there with Collingwood. Collingwood are in an awkward position where we talked about Geelong after their flag, after their rough start to the year, and we put a line through them really quick. It's hard to do with this ladder at the moment will lie to us for a little while. So I'm not putting a line through anyone for a while until we get a complete look at a few. But it'd want to shift quick for both these two clubs. They play each other in a fortnight.
Yeah, they do. So there's the oddity of the Lions have this week off, and Collingwood play St Kilda, which is a much bigger game than it would ordinarily have been for them. I think you don't want to be you don't want the two grand finalists at 0-5 going and meeting at the Gabba.
No. Hey, you watched all the footy on the weekend. Do you feel like the floor has been raised? Well, the bottom 3 or 4 teams weren't as poor as last year.
Yep.
They were a lot better, I thought. I mean, North Melbourne, they're going to concede a lot of goals, but they're going to have that game where they hurt someone. They're going to beat a team they shouldn't. I thought West Coast, okay, they got hammered, and Port Adelaide were inaccurate. Could have really put a number on them. But they were better than last year.
Yeah, but both of them were given such tough assignments first up. My long-term historical view is that the last thing that comes is performance on the road. So we need to see North at home and West Coast at home. But yes, is the hope that the floor for those two has risen.
Yeah. And Hawthorn is seriously unlucky. Like Blanks is not a Hall of Fame player, right, at fullback. But the domino theory of when he's not there ruins all your other matchups. So Frosty has to go to fullback where really he's not. He's more your next. He's more centre half back. Sicily has to be centre half back rather than playing third tall back. Then you go. Hardwick has to trade up and play on Langford, which is not really what you want. So everyone's elevated to incompetence, just by just an inch, So it's just sometimes those specific injuries or those structural injuries really hurt you. So I felt a bit for Hawthorn on the weekend, and they were in that game. Gee, they were in that game.
Yeah, if they'd taken advantage around goal over a long period of time, they would have had a lead that would just have put the Frighteners through Essendon. That was one of the tricks, is could you put the Frighteners up Essendon on a day where they just had to be winning? And they never could quite do that.
So if the floor is raised and the two grand finalists have come off a little bit, maybe GWS are better than we all thought. Maybe. Don't know. It's going to be hard to work out against North Melbourne and then West Coast this week. It feels like the competition's really compressed.
There's going to be this incredible squeeze in the middle.
Yeah.
Incredible squeeze. And this is the capacity to win your close games, which is what Carlton have done in their first two, the learned skill of that. Anyway, we've got so much to play with here. So who would you rather be, Collingwood or Brisbane?
I'd rather be Collingwood.
Yeah, I think I'm the same.
Yeah. It's a long trip back from Perth too when you're 0-2, isn't it?
It's a bit nasty.
Who sits next to the coach?
And you have to sit and dwell on it for an
gags,
extra week.
No jokes on the way back.
Headphones on, eyes down.
Sunnies.
Best bits. Our stars are the best bits. Hook me up to those two Jeremy Cameron goals. Petrarca yesterday, Soaring, Heaney. Our stars have made quite the entrance, I think.
If you just had a blank look at just this season, you'd have Jesse Hogan in there.
Oh, yes.
Like if you didn't have any baggage about where Jesse had been, he'd be in there. Charlie Curnow, he's going to be in there for a while, isn't he? He's constantly in the discussion. And some of the old blokes are still pretty good too. Bond's still pretty good. Paddy Cripps, I know he sort of looks like he's becoming more of a handballer and getting involved in chain now. He's covering the ground better than what I've seen the last couple of years. Doesn't look as banged up. Not as much tape hanging off the edges. He just looks. He's never going to look quick or like a runner, but he is on the move now. I like what he's done with his game. There's plenty to talk about though, isn't there? I mean,
Paddy Dangerfield said hello.
Paddy Dangerfield. When I said last night, when it was closing time, Paddy said, "Right, I got this. It's all right." He got the last couple of clearances. He kicked the big goal, and then went back to the middle. Still in a little bit of trouble. Still only 7 points. This could get a bit murky. Let me just finish this. Big clearance. Well done, Paddy.
Will Sarong have a day where he gets 50 this year?
Will anyone get 50 this year?
Oh, I think Sarong might give it a nudge. The game I was most looking forward to was yesterday at the MCG. I feel like we would learn a lot out of Melbourne and the Bulldogs. So let's take it one at a time, shall we? And debate Melbourne as to how deep you want to take it. What did we see from, I think, not only a game, but a whole period of time as the Clayton Oliver story came to full fruition, and then they rectified some of the issues that were identified the week before.
Best interview of the year, Sarah Jones. I thought that was terrific. To get Max as a bit of a steadying influence on Clayton, to get absolute honesty. It was one of those interviews that you sort of sit there nodding. Yeah, he knows he's not quite there. He's still got some challenges. It's not all over. He's not through it. And Max is nodding in the background. It was just brilliant. So well done. Well done, Sarah. And well done, Melbourne. Look, Max Gawn, he fascinates me, Max. I can't watch a Melbourne game without just watching Max.
Yep.
So there's so many things happen when Max is in this form. Like he embarrassed English yesterday. He just destroyed him slowly. They'll do me slowly, Gerard.
Yes.
Over 120 minutes, he just brained him. And Max had a poor outing in the second half the week before, and he fixed it straight away. I mean, and what a proud warrior! Like we talk about leadership, that's leadership. Don't worry about the words and your meetings and all those sort of things, and your culture and all that. So just go and sort it out on field. Everyone's culture's fine when you're winning. No one questions anything when you're winning. You won't hear Melbourne's culture questioned at all this week because they won. And I think Max is a major part of that. The Max free kick interests me. Don't know whether you saw it, but it was 100 metres off the ball, and it was for a standard bump. It was just one small man standing in front of Max and just bumping him as he went to go past. It wasn't a cheap shot in the back. It wasn't anything overly aggressive. And I just thought, is that the new standard, or is that just one for Max? Is that just a rule for Max? So that's a watch for me.
Do you think so? Is it a free kick?
Well, if it is, we're going to pay a lot of them. I'm comfortable with it being a free kick, but we're one way or the other, because that happens probably 40 times to a midfielder who's being tagged, that he has his run chopped off and bumped and annoyed and challenged, and it happens to other ruckmen, and it happens to key position forwards regularly. There's almost every lead they try and make is blocked. So I don't sort of know where we start and stop with that. And I'd love an answer on that. Do we still think that's a free kick today? In the cool, clear light of day, and the umpire's miles off. He's in the defensive 50 at the other end and pays it. So I just want an answer on it. I'm not saying it's great or it's bad or anything like that, but you just can't have a rule for Max. That's not how we work. You talked about Clayton. I mean, Clayton is just an amazing footballer, isn't he? Like when that siren goes, he just goes into a different zone. It's go time. 35 disposals, 8 clearances, 8 score involvements, and just and Max spoke about this perfectly in the post match. He could have kicked that goal. I mean, the Melbourne fans wanted him to kick that goal.
Yes.
And then he passed, and everyone went, "Oh, Clayton!" And they went, "Oh, good on you, Clayton." It was sort of I don't know, the emotion of the situation. You get dragged into the emotion. I don't back from Melbourne at all, but I felt, and then he comes off the ground. The coach gives him a big hug, and you have a little lump in the back of the throat. You think, "Wow, how good's footy?" So that was terrific. I want to put Caleb Windsor on your radar. He did some things the other day that screamed to me that he's more than a wingman. One touch, he did a fakey handball on the wing where he was going to give it, and he saw Riley Sanders just cutting across the path. So he pulled it back halfway through the handball and then squirted it out boundary side, and they were away and gone. 30 seconds later, he does the Nick Dacos, jumps up in the air, handballs all in one motion, and they're away and gone. He did the spin out of a tackle. He's doing things. He was in and clean. I know he's a light body and he's a young man. He was in and clean at a bobbling ball in the defensive 50, 20 metres from goal. In, pop, balls out, gone into space. So those guys take it from inside to out. It doesn't matter what size or shape they are. If they can do that, they can do that. So I think they're going to have a player here they'll be able to throw in the middle, and it'll look odd because he's a young man in there, but it might just avail them some more forward time for Oliver or some management minutes for Oliver while he's going through this phase of rebuilding his fitness. And it might just give him Petrarca forward on occasion too. And they've been looking for that. They've been looking for that extra mid.
Yep.
Haven't they? I mean, Salem's gone in there. So they're clearly looking for one more. So there's a lot to like about what Melbourne did. And they won without Fritsch blowing them away. So I think it's a really good win. Neil Bullen doesn't get any credit. Just want to mention him. His second goal, he runs the full length of the ground. He takes Bontempelli on a searching run, and poor Bonte had to go the whole way to get embarrassed at the end of it. But so there's a lot to like about how Melbourne play and what they do and the honesty and how they beat you.
Just Ben Brown's presence? Short term, long term?
Yeah,
we know they're waiting for Petty.
Yeah, I don't want to sign up to that one just yet, Jared.
Worked yesterday.
Can I vote informal on that one?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just a watching brief on that one.
Yeah, I'm not signing up to that because I think they'll be better than that in the forward line. But don't want to be disrespectful at the same time.
Yep.
So he was good yesterday. Tick, credit to him. But I think that they'll be a better forward line when Petty comes in.
The debate for New Vision Clinics, keyhole laser vision, next generation technology. So the pressure index, the Bulldogs sign up here. So part of what yesterday was just to go, are they in contention or are they not in contention? So you walk away yesterday going, for the time being, not in contention. It doesn't mean they're hopeless, but high-end assignment, failed the high-end assignment.
Yeah. Yeah, and failed it in a pretty sizable way, I think. You know, there's two or three dogs that get the ball and things happen. But then there's a lot of confusion around the rest. I like Buku Kamas in their team. I think he's going to be a nice young player, and I want to give him an opportunity to thrive. But I think he's a third tall back. So the pieces are wrong to allow him to be his best. And if you want to play Jones on Fritsch, you've got to have another interceptor. So you've got to have another big body in front of that fullback position. So every team nominally has fullbacks and halfback and an interceptor. They have some of the luxury of that player being an interceptor, but not always. So I reckon there's confusion there. I reckon there's confusion in how they what's their staple ball movement? Because the Stars just do what they want to do, and it doesn't look as rigid as others. It's not full system all the time for me. It's not as obvious for me. And people say, well, that's your fault, not theirs, and that's true. But you got to have an identity. You got to have something that says, hey, come and take this off us. It used to be the handball game. It used to be that flick the ball around and make your chases for 10 seconds until we burst free. And then it doesn't matter who's forward of the ball because we're going to be that free, we're going to hit them. I'm looking at the Whateley role in the forward line. What is Whateley? Is he a pressuring small forward? Is he a crummer? Is he a marking player? Is he Bailey Fritsch? Is he another viable marking? Because he flies against his teammates more than he does anyone else. And I'm not saying he's a poor commodity. He's not. He's a very good player. And did some good things on the weekend. But what's his role? And I get confused watching the way that he's positioned as to suit that role. So if he's going in there as a marking player, you've got him as a marking player, Jamara, Lobb, Norton. You've got half a dozen marking players. And then you have to play the two smalls in Vandermeer and McNeil because you just get no pressure if you don't. Now, to me, they're not AFL players. They are not AFL level. Now, they may get there, but right now they're not. But you have to play them because you've got all these other marking targets. So when the ball hits the deck, you have to service the needs of the team with players who, in my opinion, are not there yet. So the confusion is in my belief, everywhere. And it's going to be a tough correction. So we talk about them having this star-studded list. They do have a very good list still, but the asset management is a problem.
So they've got the big few weeks ahead, don't they?
So we want to see them. We want to see them look different, because if they don't look different, they'll be the same.
Yep. The pressure index immediately on the Dogs, and then out of that game, I feel like the worst bit was the way the score review was implemented and worked. Have our goal umpires totally lost their nerve?
Oh, yeah.
It's the only way to look at the first, what have we had, 13 games. We're getting balls bouncing off posts that have been sent to review, and it's completely lost their nerve.
What's happened? They've just lost. It's like Harry Mackay kicking a goal one banana, one round the corner, one over the head. His goal kicking has nothing on the goal umpires. Our goal umpires are shot. I've been pushing for David Roden for grand finals for years, Jared. He even looks broken. There was about 4 reviews in 20 minutes the other night.
Yeah, so this is the flow on out of last year where a goal umpire doesn't use the system, and then I just think they're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Because you can't tell me that these goal umpires aren't seeing these balls hit the post.
We do it for advertising, are we?
No, I won't buy into that.
Okay. I feel there's a component of that.
Right, and then we had the weird one on Thursday night where along the way during the process, the field umpire's going, well, this is going to be holding the ball if it's umpire's call. You can have your view on how that happened, but don't just watch that as an edited clip. I think that's been misrepresented. That happens over a long period of time before the field umpire first says this is going to be holding the ball. There's a lag, and there's a lot of replays in that lag. Either way, if they feel like the way it's being cut up just totally misrepresents what happened. And then we're taking the one that drives me completely mad is we're using the camera through posts to decide whether a ball's over the line or not. So by not having cameras on each post, because the scoreline isn't just the goal line, both behind lines are score lines as well, but we haven't put cameras on those lines.
Didn't catch the boundary line yesterday with the West Coast Eagles, did you?
Oh, I did. Yes.
He was in row 3.
Yeah.
And the field umpire can't call that because that's not his jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And he's right there. Now, I do sometimes think common sense is okay. If it's that far out, just call it out.
Don't be so self-defeating.
Would you be upset if he called that out?
No, everyone. I don't think we would even have known that jurisdictionally he wasn't allowed to do it. We just gone, good job. You were there. You saw it. You knew it was out.
It was hilarious.
That umpire's going,
Was it Waterman? I can't think of who it was.
there's a boundary umpire here. Oh,
Yeah.
so, well, it's got to
He
let
was
that
tonguing
go.
it out the back. He'll be delisted during the week. He's not fit enough,
The
Jared.
worst bits.
How many weeks do you think they'll keep servicing you with the score review? Do you think you've talked about it every week for
30 weeks. Because we haven't put any technological advancement in it. Well, the funniest part of Thursday night was, obviously I was calling, but when you watch the review and the commentators are very sagely saying, oh, there are 2 people in the arc looking at this. Yeah, there could be 83,000 people in the arc looking at this. Without any technological enhancement, they have no chance. The addition of one person, just silliness.
Yeah, and the bit that makes me laugh is at the end of the whole review, Kerner says, I kicked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely kicked it.
And so we should work backwards from that and go, okay, so we kicked it. We need a system that gives you the best chance of identifying that. And you can't tell me with a straight face that we have the best system. Geelong narrowly beat St Kilda. So first, gosh, the stadium looked good.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Wow.
Depends
for a
who-
ground I've been going to my whole life.
Yeah.
Spectacular. And the presence of a big number of St Kilda fans, which has been abnormal for always. They have that little pocket, which you can have 80 tickets, 100.
You can't get all your family in.
Yeah.
What do you mean you want your family to come?
Proper cheer squad bay behind the goals and then plenty of others interspersed. Brilliant. So it was one of those curious games. It felt to me like both coaches set up to thwart the other. No matter what, Geelong wasn't going to let St Kilda have their red dog run out of halfback. And St Kilda are just so good at stopping an opposition from scoring. And somewhere in the middle, they played a game.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at, so what does it take to score is probably the easiest way to put it. So most teams get the same amount of looks. You get the same amount of opportunities when you don't get smashed at clearance. Normally you win, say, if you get smashed, you lose by, say, in a half a footy you might lose by 5 or 6. But you've still had 20 yourself. You've still got enough opportunity. You still win the ball back a reasonable amount at halfback, and you still get a chance to counterpunch. You still have kick-ins where you can take the ball full length. So you still get a reasonable amount of opportunities. But at some point in the forward half, you have to win a contest to score. At some point. And if you can't win contest in the forward half of the ground, your profile will look really poor because you won't score from stoppage, you won't score from turnover, and at the end of the game they'll say, have a look at the scores from turnovers. Well, it's not really about the scores from turnovers. It's about your forward half not being able to win contest. So if you break down the game, the easiest way to look at it is forward half contests. St Kilda winning forward half contests. So in the first half, they won 15 contests in the forward half. In the second half, they won 32. If you go to the forward 50, in the first half, they won 4. Can't survive on 4. In the second half, they won 14. So Geelong, and you can show all the vision and talk about as much, they are bloody hard to move the ball against and to get one-on-ones, to give you the ability to win that contest or to outnumber in any meaningful way. So it's hard to move the ball against. It's hard to get speed against them in that narrow ground they play so well. And then they have their holding defenders, which just destroy the game. And then it becomes an arm wrestle. How fast do they want to go? Because they know they've got Hawkins down there who's going to win contests. They know they've got Cameron down there who's going to win contests. And they have a couple of kids bob up and start winning contests. You go, geez, who's this Dempsey guy? You know, so they, in the end, you have to win ball in your forward half. So a lot of strategy goes into how do we try and get those one-on-ones? How do we try and these two coaches, they just refuse to give you that. So it was a test of wills as to who was going to blink first and who was going to try and open the game up. And Chris Scott said, I'm not opening the game up. This is who we are down here, mate. Welcome to our world down here. This is paradise for us. So it wasn't until Max King started winning a few contests in the forward half, in that little window in that last sort of 10 to 15 minutes, it's just winning contests forward of the ball. So that's the price of these big blokes. That if they can win your one or two contests, it changes everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you can disarm that or take that away, that's what we're talking about. Aaron Norton down back, because he might win some contests up forward, but you've got 4 other blokes to do that. But when it goes down the other end for you, you can't influence. You can't win it back. So the opposition win contest because you got Buku Khamis and not Aaron Norton. So Geelong have 4 or 5 Aaron Nortons that can play Henry can play up forward, but they play him down back because he's a super defender. Tom Stewart can play in the midfield, but they play him down back because he's a super defender, and they just get the spaces right. You look up, how the hell's he there? I want to kick it there. How is he allowed to stand there by himself off a man? Where our forwards gone? So look, there's that constant arm wrestle of the structural side of the game. Now that's people think I'm disrespectful to Geelong. I'm not. They set this ground up perfectly for them. And that's why they stack a lot of wins down. It's a challenge when it comes to the G because the gaps are different. And it's harder to defend the wider ground of the G. But while they play there, they're bloody hard to beat. I thought St Kilda were very good.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop off St Kilda at all on that.
No, and you can't change your whole mode for one given game. Even if it is your first game of the year, you just can't because next week you can't say, forget what we did last week, guys. This is how we want to play. So their run is not accentuated. I thought Henry was terrific. He's going to be a beauty for him. I thought Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller, some of his kicks, I go, my God, I don't know how you have the dare to go for those. So there's a lot to like. Rowan Marshall, what a game. You know, I love seeing big blokes just do that. But again, I was really happy with Max Holmes' game too. I've been waiting to see Max a little bit for a while. Thought he was very good. And then closing time comes and the big boys come in and shut the door on you.
They got that right. So this was the decision made by Ivan Soldo. Don't spend your whole career being second fiddle, particularly to a captain.
You're big on this
the
position.
Best open job in footy was the ruck position at Port for the rest of your career because those boys are young and they are frighteningly talented. And Soldo's not the best ruckman in the game, but he saw the opening. He's gone and won the job as they put 3 of them in the ring together. So who's it going to be?
Cage match.
Yeah, and Soldo wins it internally, and then he's going to have so much fun rucking to those players. Kudos to him. Don't set yourself up in a bad scenario forever.
No.
Get out, go and show us who you can be. And he has taken the best open job in footy.
And probably a good time to get out too of the Tigers. Because they're going to go through some pain in the middle of the ground, aren't they? That was good. It was a very good performance. Gee whiz. They're spark players in the middle, Rosie and Butters. And they give the ball to each other more than any other pair I've seen. I'll have to do the numbers on this. They're the Wax brothers. And that's fine. That's good. That's smart, isn't it? Keep it with the high-grade players. You didn't catch Butters cleaning up McGovern and then McGovern cleaning up Butters, did you? Gee, it was funny. Butters is a hard man for the size he is. He is. Yeah. I don't know how McGovern's ribs are feeling today, but everyone felt that hit right on quarter time. And Jeremy, who doesn't like to stayed down for a long time. And then he got him back. It was he got him back in the last quarter. And if the MRO are serious, they'll have a look at it. Not for a suspension, but it might be worthy of a phone call. Hey, listen, just be careful with this one. In the old days, they used to. I don't know if they do that anymore. You used to get like a warning.
Notice.
Yeah, he got a warning.
We
before.
saw it. We saw it.
Just keep your elbows down. That sort of stuff.
What were first impressions of Harley Reid?
Yeah, he's just a competitor. He's got that look about him that he wants to mix it. He wants to impact. He wants to play. Simo threw him in the middle. He won a few clearances. Just looks like he's as he should. He could play anywhere. He's been playing a bit of half-back through the pre-season, but he's going to be a midfielder. Yeah, they looked a little bit better yesterday, but there's still some pain to come. Yeah, I'd hate to play down back for the Eagles for the next 18 months.
Does James Sicily put himself in reportable situations too often?
It reads poorly, the kicking charge. It's not. I don't think it's a kicking report, but I think it's a dumb thing to do. And I think that you should probably get a week because we're sick of dumb things, aren't we?
Lowered the shoulder, flips McGrath up into the air, and then flings his leg out. When you look at it with the definitions, you go, yeah, I can understand how they came to that.
He's a bit stiff because the old 4K Fox camera was coming right out to the huddle post-goal and it's got the lot.
It got done in by the close camera.
He's the only bloke to get done in high definition like that, Jared. He's a bit stiff. But I think that you can't have that action at any level of footy. Like it mirrors, it permeates down to the lower competitions, doesn't it? And you just can't have that.
What about Mason Redman getting the week? Sometimes I feel like they troll us. Oh, we're not going to suspend Hewitt last week. Oh, we are going to suspend Redman this week. So we all try to line it up coming into the season. You go, oh, Hewitt, that's what they're after. That's what they've rewritten. No, they're not going to do that. Oh, well, that means Redman can't. No, we're doing Redman. Are you doing this to us deliberately?
So last week I come to crunch time and I thought, he'd be fine. He's not getting a week. And then you and Sammy said, no, that's exactly what are you doing? What are you thinking, man? That's what they've changed the rule for. This is a week every day. And I thought, gee, I'm out of line here. So I left 1 o'clock last Saturday thinking, he's gone. And then he got a fine. I thought, hang on a minute, what's going on? So this one's a week. But you've had notice, haven't you? Like, I know you shouldn't get – last week they should have just given it a week and set the standard, but they don't do this.
Yeah.
They fluff around for months with these things. This is the head trauma thing all over again, isn't it?
So if they'd suspended Hewitt, not a shadow of a doubt that Redman's going to get suspended. But they sort of missed that. Well, they chose not. They didn't miss it. They just chose not to enforce it with the first one. They go off the bicep up. So just a fine. And this one, which is more gentle in the contact to the face, we're going to pick this one out. It just makes it hard to. I don't think they've. I said last week is if they'd nailed Hewitt, everyone would have gone, yeah, totally. We're up for that. If that's the way we're doing it, no worries. We're all behind it. But when you do one and not the other, I just think that's where you get lost.
So the people who have played the game say to me, "Oh, come on, that's just push and shove." Well, don't we have to? I say, what's the point of this? What is the point of the push and shove? Do we need it in our game? Do we really need it? Does it make any difference to our code if that doesn't happen on the weekend? Does it make our code greater for the fact that we're standing there trying to push as hard as we can without hitting the head? I just think it's stupid. You get a week for not being up with what we're trying to do with the game. And Chris O should give himself a fine for not giving Hewitt a week last week. I think the AFL should fine Chris O.
There was some excellent stuff in Fremantle's win last night. The open question is how far might that take them? And then the gallows humour that was associated with just injury after injury after injury and the bittersweet nature by the end of the day. What did you think of Fremantle first up in 2024?
Jeez, I'll tell you what, the first 10 minutes, I thought this has got ugly written all over it. I don't know how they gathered, really, because it was comical error after comical error, and I thought, wow, they're in trouble here. And they kept panning to the coach's box, and he was just sort of saying, well, you could see him in the coach's box going, well, there's not much we can do about that. He's just rushed it through the points and he's made a blue. And there's a couple of skill areas we say, well, we can't really coach that, So I wondered how they'd get out of that and get out of it. My God. Luke Jackson and Caleb Sarong said, hey, now's the time. And that's why you pay the big bucks for Jackson. That's why you give up the draft numbers, the draft picks. And it was a dominant performance from Jackson for the next 25, 30 minutes when they were in real strife. And they climbed off the canvas, and once they got going, they were just simply too much for Brisbane. I don't think it was anything. I don't think there was a lot of brilliance to it. It was just a clinical fronting up, beating them at the coalface, used the ball well without being startling. I thought they took some risks early that cost them opportunity. They turned the ball over a little bit, and there was a kick out that went right up the middle, and they got through, and I thought, okay. So there was a little bit of expression from the players, but I just thought it was a really good performance, and no more, no less. Everyone wants you to be glowing just because they've won. I still am looking forward to seeing them again. Everyone thinks you're coming after the coach. We just talk about the game. They've played boring footy in the past. I hope they don't play it this year. That's all I've been crying out for. And you've been saying on Saturday, you said, well, let's wait and see if it's this year. You feel like it will be this year. And we sort of all hope it is. And that was a great starting point. But Sarong and Jackson, for me, showed why they are the ace and king of this footy club. And let's hope it gets rolling.
The problem for them, there's the day in the future by their own design when Jackson's not playing that role, which is mind-numbing to me. The Cox injury is a bad injury.
Stiff,
one of the key pieces, yeah.
He's stiff. And McDonald, I don't know where he sits. They're just pieces you can't lose because they've got a couple of players at the bottom end of their 22 that are just line ball AFL players. I'm not being disrespectful. They're just, they're stocking fillers. And you just can't expose another two or three. When you get these injuries, you're going down to your 25th, 26th, 27th player really early. And if you get a couple more, you're into your early 30s. And the healthiest teams win the flag. And the healthiest teams finish top four. So you just hope they get a clean run at it. The concussion to Warner was sickening. So it went through a patch there where they were just dropping like flies.
Yeah.
So well done. Big win. Got Brisbane when they were a fraction vulnerable without Lockie Neal and went whack. And you need a player to go whack. And Caleb Sarong was that man. So, again, well done. Great performance. Tick it off. Go again.
PFI, sort of caught on in our footy community, hasn't it? If you're new to the means test, it's preliminary final integrity, the way that you play, the setup that you've got. How will it stand up in the penultimate weekend?
Hang on a minute. All right. We went to the footy, a new little spot we got with Fox at the MCG on Thursday night. Sitting there with Anthony Bitzilis, who's our vision man, and Cora Morabilio, who's the champion data numbers man. And Carlton were going through a bit of a patch. They weren't exactly flying at the early stages of the game. And this bloke walked to the front with a Carlton jumper on. He's too old to be wearing a Carlton jumper, by the way, but he was wearing one.
Never too old.
And he said something. I don't know what he said. I said, "What's that, mate?" He goes, Carlton gear, Carlton. I said, yeah, what? He goes, no PFI. We laughed. We laughed for 20 minutes. What the hell is he talking about? So to that man, well done. You gave us a good laugh. But
does Sydney have PFI?
Does Sydney? Of course they do. And they're a little bit like Geelong. Everything they do make them difficult to move the ball, to have any efficiency with the footy, to score. Everything they do is about what they do without the footy. So I love what they've done. I love the move of Heaney. They're only going to get better. They're on the flip side to what we're talking about with Fremantle. They've got players that are going to be returning. High quality players like Parker and Mills, who set standards. They don't just come along for the ride. They actually elevate things. So now they've found a really good mix in the middle of the ground with Goulden and Warner and Heaney in great form. You'd let them run for a little while, and then their back six. What Blakey allows them down back, and McCartan. We've got to start talking about McCartan. The more I watch the vision, the more I think he's involved in everything. He might not necessarily finish with the footy, and you may not necessarily see him on the coverage, but he's involved in everything. just orchestrating nice and calm. I love calm defenders.
Yep.
Blokes that never look rattled, never look panicked, and that's him. So everyone wants to talk about Grundy in the midfield. I love him behind the ball.
Yeah, it's been a very good start to the season. If you're a Swans fan and you weren't with us on Crunch Time on Saturday, the two early adopters of David King and Luke Hodge, they were both there. So go revel in it.
Can I give you a small one?
Yeah.
War without weapons. Dennis used to talk about war without weapons. You know, what happens when you haven't got Lachie Neale there? Who stands up? What happens when you're missing an A grader and the responsibility elevates for the next level down? It goes to Dunkley, which is why you got him to the club. It goes to Lyons, why you keep playing him. It goes to Rayner. It goes to Bailey. And they don't come. Some of these players don't play forever. You know, what if Bontempelli has a quiet day or he's out? What if he misses 4 weeks and it goes to that next player? I think there's, you know, we learn every week in footy, and we learn what Brisbane are going to look like without a Lachie Neale. They don't play forever. You've got to capitalise while you've got these guys. While you're seriously good, you've got to win it. While you're doing something different, you've got to win it. Collingwood did something different last year with this all-invested run and gun and you know, just throw numbers at the footy. Where the ball is, we're going to beat you. 8v7, 9v7, 10v6. And we're going to leak when you get through it, but when you don't, we're going to hurt you. And it works. And it worked for 18 months. Everyone's picked it apart for the last 6 months, and now they're in strife. But whilst it was different, it won them a flag. The GWS Giants are doing something completely different. This tsunami up, tsunami back. Whether you got the ball or you haven't, you feel like the game is at frantic speed. It's the quickest game of all time when you play against the Giants. You got to have your skates on. So while you're doing something different, you got to win it. So I just look at the teams that just got exposed without one of their major players.
Is there a bit of Tex and the Crows?
There's a bit of Tex and the Crows in that. You know, I think they probably got selection a little bit out of kilter, trying to replace that type of player. You can't replace that type of player. So is the long-term future of their forward line still okay without Tex? I don't know. These are the assessments you got to make as a list management group, because if not, it changes your whole build.
Yep. War without weapons.
It's a Dennis paganism, that one. I never knew what it meant.
Wisdom comes later on. All 18 are in contention this week. Last week it was only 8.
No, last week was ridiculous. I got hammered online again. He set me up again.
All right, we got the full suite to work with. 4. Who are you putting at 4?
No, I've put him in. Big win against Brisbane. Sarong, Jackson go crazy.
You've gone for Freo.
Well, you've got to recognise performance, don't you? And we've had half the league only play one game, so it's hard to have, you know, too many above them. But recognise performance, good performance, strong win, up and rolling. Show us again.
I liked Melbourne.
Yep.
They're well worthy of a place in the seedings on the back of that. Rectified a few of the things that really worried me out of the first game. Came back to the MCG. I think they had a really good week. So they're sort of free to be on their way now. That was my point. They just needed a win to get on their way. They're free to be on their way. 3?
3's Carlton. I love the forward handball run and gun game. Michael Voss, I think his coaching is the clarity in which the message becomes the way they play is brilliant. This pre-season's been about ball movement. They're not scoring from stoppage anymore. They're scoring from ball movement. So if they can get that other weapon back over the next few weeks, they're going to become a seriously good football team. So they're at 3 with a bullet ready to go up.
Yeah. Sydney won the play-in game. It's flip of the coin, Giants, Sydney Giants. So I've put Sydney at 3 with a massive amount of respect. I love what they're doing. And then I've got the Giants still at 2. They had the softer kill, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about the way the Giants play which I'm so taken by, and I'm hardly alone now.
Sydney at 2 for me because that's just who they are. They're just going to be who they are, and now they've got wild card talent in the midfield and more to come back. They're at 2 and looking every bit of contender.
1?
Yeah, can't go past the Giants. I mean, they're playing Harlem Globetrotter footy. It's relentless. It's up and back until we break you. And they're going to break a lot of teams on the way. And they're doing it with guys that have got, you know, stripes all over them. They're doing it with marquee players. Marquee players engaging in this level of investment to charge up and charge back and do everything to help the team win are hard to beat. They're flag favourites, and they'll be that way for a while.
Yeah. Well, Carlton are my 1 seed until they lose. So it's a learned skill winning the close ones. They didn't have it for a long time. They have learned their lessons well. I am a believer you learn when you learn.
One.
Yeah. You learn when you learn, and they have that. They're doing so much right without being at the absolute top of their game. So I'm going to combine their 2 results to have them at 1. But I'm just, I'm nailing them to 1 until they lose a game.
As soon as you got on the Red Dogs and Kilda, look what happened.